was possible. But what if that so-called limit was never real to begin with? I mean, think about it. For 200 years, a whole category of math problems was just labeled unsolvable. That's it. Case closed. It was treated as a fundamental fact of the universe. So, what happens if it turns out everyone was wrong all along? All right, so let's dive in. Our story really kicks off with a challenge that has been a thorn in the side of the world's greatest mathematicians for, generations. We're talking about the quest to crack a notoriously difficult kind of equation. So, what are we talking about here? We're talking about these things called high degree polynomial equations. Now, to put it simply, just picture an equation that is so long and tangled up that trying to find its exact solutions, the roots that make the whole thing equal zero, was just considered a total dead end. Yeah, for the simple stuff, we've got formulas. But the moment you get to the fifth degree or higher, it was like running headfirst into a solid brick wall. And look, this wasn't just, a tough problem. For centuries, this was seen as an absolute uncrossable line in mathematics, a hard stop. To really get why everyone believed this, we've got to take a little trip back in time. Okay, so way back in the 1500s, mathematicians had a pretty good run. They figured out how to solve third and fourth degree equations, awesome. But then, nothing. They hit a total wall. For nearly 300 years, a complete standstill. Then, in 1824, this brilliant Norwegian mathematician, Niels Henrik Agel, comes along and drops a bombshell. He basically delivered what everyone thought was the final word on the matter. He proved there's no general formula for solving fifth degree equations or anything higher using standard algebra. And for the next 200 years, that was it. That was the absolute limit of algebra. And this right here is the big one, the idea at the very heart of our story, Abel's impossibility theorem. What it says, in a nutshell, is that you just can't create a one-size-fits-all formula to solve these super complex equations using your standard toolkit. Adding, subtracting, multiplying, dividing, taking square roots. It became mathematical law, just accepted truth. So, why? Why did all the classical methods just fail? Well, think of an equation's internal structure, its symmetry, like it's a really complex dance. Now, for the simpler equations, we know the steps. But once you get to degrees higher than 4, the dance becomes so incredibly intricate that the old rulebook is useless. And to make matters worse, a key piece of the puzzle, this thing called the discriminant, just explodes into millions and millions of terms. It's a total information overload. So for 2 centuries, the best anyone could do was get close. They could find approximations, but they could never ever find the perfect 100% exact answer. And this is where the two worlds collide. It's so clear when you see it laid out like this. On one side, you've got the classical way of thinking, which just accepted this limit. It's impossible, they said. Let's move on. But on the other side, you have this brand new theorem that doesn't just suggest, but proves that exact solutions are possible. It completely rejects those old limits and creates a whole new way of looking at things. This is the perfect setup for a revolution in mathematics. Which, of course, brings us to the person at the center of it all. The man who actually dared to stand up and challenge 200 years of mathematical belief. Professor Murad Sultan Azwidi. And this quote from him, wow. Limits exist only until they are surpassed. It just perfectly captures the whole spirit of this thing, right? Professor Azwidi looked at that impossible limit, not as a solid wall, but as just another barrier that was waiting for someone to come along and smash right through it. So what's Azwidi's big argument? Well, it's pretty profound. He's not saying Abel was wrong, exactly. He's saying Abel's framework was incomplete. He argued that the problem was never the equation itself. It wasn't unsolvable. The real issue was that mathematicians were trying to fix it with the wrong set of tools. The limitation wasn't in the math, it was in the toolbox. And that brings us right to Azwidi's theorem. This is a totally new way of playing the game. Instead of trying to hammer a square peg into a round hole, trying to force the old methods to work, it just creates a whole new framework. It's all based on these recursive patterns and a much deeper, more fundamental understanding of symmetry. It's not just an upgrade on the old system, it's a complete bypass. It's a new highway around the old traffic jam. Okay, so how does this thing actually work? How does it do the impossible? Let's get into the real heart of it, the core idea behind how this new method cracks a problem that everyone thought was completely unbreakable. So take a look at this beast. This is just the start of the 20th degree polynomial that Professor Azwidi solved. It's absolutely massive, it's incredibly complex, and let's be clear, under the old rules, finding the exact roots for this thing, yeah, that's impossible, full stop. The method itself is just so elegant. It's brilliant. First, it finds these hidden, repeating patterns inside the equation's own coefficients. Then, it uses this new way of looking at symmetry, a kind of hierarchical structure, to tame that insane complexity we were talking about earlier. And this is the most beautiful part. The method basically lets the polynomial solve itself. It coaxes it into generating its own exact roots, just by following a chain of pure, undeniable logic. And this comparison just says it all, doesn't it? Numerical approximation, that's like taking a blurry photo. Sure, you get the general idea, it's close enough, but it's not the real thing. There's always some error. But Azuide's method, that's a crystal clear 4K picture. The answers are 100% precise, they're totally verifiable, and they have zero error. It is literally the difference between guessing and knowing. So what's the end result? A perfectly clean, complete list of 20 exact solutions. We're not talking about estimates here. We're talking about the true symbolic roots, all figured out with pure algebraic reasoning. It's just a breathtakingly elegant solution to a problem that was always thought to be this impossibly messy thing. But here's the thing. This discovery is so much bigger than just one equation. It has truly profound implications for the entire future of mathematics and honestly, for science in general. And I love how the source material puts it. It says, this discovery does more than solve an equation, it redefines what it means to solve. That's it right there. We are moving from an age of close enough to an age of absolute exactness. And that's really the biggest takeaway here. This 20th degree equation, the one that for 200 years was the poster child for impossible, is now the ultimate proof that the limits we thought were real might not be real at all. It kind of suggests that maybe every single polynomial, no matter how complicated, secretly holds the key to its own solution. You just have to know how to ask it the right way. It makes you wonder, right? What else have we decided is impossible just because we haven't found the right key yet? So that leaves us with a pretty mind-bending question to chew on. If a mathematical impossibility, something that was considered fact for 200 years, can be completely overturned, what other limits are we just accepting as true right now? What other scientific brick walls are just waiting for someone to come along with a new perspective, a new tool, a totally new way of thinking? What's the next impossible thing that's about to become possible?